Tidal Rift Elvira is here. I actually kind of like her design. I think it's like kind of cool for a summer unit. And let's go ahead and take a look at her kit. So we're going to go ahead and look at her stats. She is a Mage Pisces. This is the debuffer stat line. You look at the other units with the stat line, it's Festivita, Blue Fumir, and Witch of the Mirror Tenebria. All of those actually have a decent bit of damage chunk, which she will have as well. The stat line, 120 base speed. You have a good bit of bulk and nothing else really, no effectiveness, but she does get it through her self-imprint, which gives up to 27%, and team imprint is more effectiveness for your allies. Taking a look at her S2 at the start of battle gives her Engulf. Engulf gives her 100 free effectiveness, so there that kind of solves the issue of not having effectiveness in her awakenings. And then crit res increased by 100%, so she can't get crit unless you're hitting her with a unit that guarantees crit. And then upon receiving lethal damage, grants Cascade to all allies, and then dispels the Engulf buff. The Cascade is kind of random. I guess you could just say it's like a thematic thing, maybe. I don't really see what the use case for this is necessarily. Aside from that, she also penetrates defense when attacking, can't crit or heavy blow. And then after an ally uses a skill for each debuff inflicted on all enemies, has a 25% chance to increase combat readiness by 10%, plus 5 for 15%. So, taking a look at all of this, her like stat giving passives, she has a bunch of effectiveness. It's going to be harder to resist her. Crit res will make her decently bulky if you're trying to hit her with units that crit. Just not being able to crit at all wipes out a ton of your damage. But we'll see how useful that is necessarily. The penetrate is going to depend on, of course, her actual scalings on her other abilities. And I'll just say her S3 does quite a bit of damage, which the penetration helps a lot with. And then the Cascade just kind of feels like a gimmick, but it does give a bit of damage to your allies when she dies. So looking at this CR push, you're going to want 4 debuffs to get a 100% chance to CR push. This is pretty much her bridge. It just gives her 15% CR push after your opener goes. You're going to want to use openers that probably ignore FRES debuff, so stuff like Briarwitch Asaria, New Moon Luna. If you want, you could also just send it with units that apply a ton of debuffs. Because something like Witch of the Mirror Tenebria drops 8 debuffs, surely you land at least 4 if you really want to play that game. And then, notably, this has no cooldown from what I can see anywhere on here. So after your opener goes, and then she goes, your other 2 units go, and she could end up getting a bunch more CR, 30% CR after both other units go, or if they have like 1 extra turn in there, it could be 45. Now let's take a look at her S3. 35% chance to inflict curse on all enemies except for the target for 2 turns before attacking. And I mentioned that this is a single target ability for damage, but then the curse goes on everybody that you didn't target. And I mentioned this does do quite a bit of damage thanks to the death pen that she has on her S2. I'm pretty sure the scaling itself is also not that bad. And then increases combat readiness of the caster by 50%. So this combined with the CR push from her S2, you could push up to 80 or 95 maybe after everybody takes their turn. When the caster is granted Engulf, effect chance is double. So this goes to 70, but if you have weakening, then this would go from 35 to 50, and then you would have a 100% chance to inflict curse. So she is a mandatory weakening unit. You go from 70% chance to curse to 100% chance to curse. Notably, there is no ignore effect resistance here. So this curse is going to end up being pretty inconsistent, I think. And curse, they buffed this ages ago. There's not that many curse users. Curse works on AOEs now, which we'll see in the demo later. So if you land curse on everybody, that's pretty OP because now everybody on their team except for the person that you targeted is taking 60% of the damage that anybody takes, pretty much, which is just going to make them explode. The only thing is just because there's no ignore FRES, you're not going to have too much control over like landing your curses. And even if you land a curse, maybe you landed on the unit that you didn't really care about. So I think she's going to have a lot of inconsistency in her kit due to not having ignore FRES. Her S1, 75% chance to inflict seal on the enemy for 2 turns before attacking. Looking at this, it goes to plus 10, so this should be 85, and then you're going to have weakening, so they'll push it up to 100. When used on the turn, 40% chance to activate Twisted Strike, which attacks all enemies, healing a little bit, and then 35% chance, 50% chance to inflict fear for 1 turn. What she has engulf effect chance is doubled. And then, so the seal is single target. The fear is AOE. You can soul burn for 100% chance to activate the AOE effect. And this is just adding a bit more debuffs. Still no like ignore Efrez or anything, but you have seal into AOE fear is pretty solid. And I think overall, I think she's good if she works, right? If she works and she lands everything, then she sounds kind of insane, but the question is, what if she misses everything? How good is she if she misses everything? And that question, I feel like she's not really that, like, insane if she misses everything, because you're going to, like, a lot of her S3 does do pretty decent damage. A lot of damage comes from the curse, just making everybody take damage, though, especially, like, your follow-up units after Elvira. She can book hold, at least, for your opener. So something like Sea Phantom Politis could also work. But the RS1 is something insane, I think. The crit res, 100% crit res, does make her a little bit bulkier, but I'm not sure she can necessarily properly anchor or something. I don't think she has, like, the tools necessary for it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the combat demo a little bit.
Strike to 100.
I think it's actually over here.
Yes.
So this is... Okay, this is just a really... This is an Elvira Christie setup, which I think is honestly kind of a gimmick. Like, I do not think this is real. You kind of just face tank everything, and, like, everybody dies, you face tank everything. Let's see this S3 damage, and this is a bulkier Elvira because he's just 18k HP. Lands every single curse there. We're going to slam it onto the Senya. So, 17k damage, pretty nice. Okay, he vaporized. Where did he go? But does 12k damage onto the witch, and then RNL had a barrier, so she only took 4k. But like, that's that 60% damage share, right? Or the extra damage pop. So curse is really strong. It's just a matter of landing it. And the other really funny thing is you can see this RB go off. 2k damage. She did have a kind of a small barrier, but that's like, that's 3k damage-ish, probably. So the pen, or the crit res definitely helps a ton. I don't think she's like unkillable, because there's probably like other units that can kill her. Like, there's just definitely options that can take her out. So she did manage to fully heal there. You can see all of the... You can see all of the fears there. And let's see how much she heals off of this. Only 1.6k here, and this is off of like about 3k damage, because it is lifesteal. So, yeah, that's like she's healing roughly half of the damage, right? So not the worst, but I think this looks more like a gimmick to me, but a very fun gimmick. It could be something to actually like just quick battle in arena. This is a lot closer than you would like it to be, though. So this is what I think her actual usage is. She's on Twilight Calamity, which is kind of funny. This is because Muna holds her own book. Twilight Calamity, I forgot it got buffed. It gives you attack buff now after somebody uses a non-attack skill. So you have another opener like Muna, Briar, Sea Phantom. You land all the debuffs, she gets the CR push. The attack buff is from Twilight Calamity, she does not have that normally. You land all of your curses. With attack buff through POV, 24,000 damage. The attack buff is like not necessarily something that is super realistic, because it does, it came from Twilight Calamity, but maybe like another opener could give this to her. We're gonna see this builder follow up here. Hit the Bologna, Ooh, 24,000, 26,000 damage pop. Everybody is just completely dead. But this is like a best case scenario. You land all of your curses. Yeah, that's so like I do think that she's good if you land everything. It's just, will you land everything? And there you can see that CR push effect. She managed to take her turn before the Silk even went because she got the 50% from S3 and then all of the pushes from S2.
Gotta win. Stay out of my way.
Her S1 does have like pretty decent damage. This is a much higher damage Elvira because her HP is lower. Anyways, that is it for Tidal Rift Elvira. I think she is like okay. She's going to be basically impossible to use in Guild War, I think, just because of how inconsistent she is. The question is just, is she better than existing bridges? Because we have stuff like Shepherd of the Dark Diane, Oddbane Ludwig, there's like a lot of other bridges. She doesn't work like at all with Zio because it has to be a unit that inflicts a ton of debuffs, but maybe she'll be fun to play around with, and if you plan on summoning for her, good luck.